Welcome to the Quantum Healthy Podcast. I'm Andia, a licensed addiction counselor, and along with my co-host, Laura Kissman, a quantum nutritionist, we will be inviting expert scientists, clinicians, survivors, and thrivers to distill their pearls of wisdom attained from applying quantum biology to their fields of research and everyday lives. Our goal is to bring you easy to understand principles and practices about the study of light, water, and magnetism so you can take your health into your own hands. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Quantum Healthy Podcast. Today we have a very special guest, very talented guest, Theo Lucier. He is a health researcher, educator, entrepreneur, whose own journey from severe burnout to vibrant health has inspired thousands of people to take control of their own wellness, including myself and Laura. He is the founder of Forgotten Health, where he teaches practical strategies for optimizing energy, detoxification, and longevity. And he's also the creator of some popular wellness products, including Pure Vitamin C Flush, BioRecharge, which is a pure humic supplement, and BioBoost, which is a pure fulvic supplement. He is the co-founder of Dry Fasting with Friends and has helped countless people through the dry fasting process. And he's also the author of Supercharged, the lost secret behind limitless energy, and the 5G Plague, a survival manual. And he has created the Ultimate Liver Detox, which is a DIY home detox program, and has hosted both the Burnout Summit and the Underground Health Summit, interviewing many leading voices in natural health. We're so excited to talk to you today.
Wow, that's like the best introduction I've ever had. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. Well,
I wonder if it helps because we've met you.
Yes.
Experienced Theo in person.
Great. Yeah. Go ahead.
No, well, we did a little podcast where we pre-introduced some people from the retreat. So you're our first guest from the retreat.
I'm excited, and I had such a good time meeting you guys at the dinner. And it's funny because I see it again on our call here. Is you go to a health conference, you never know how old anybody is because everybody looks so young. Like you guys look so young because you're doing all these health practices, you know?
Yeah.
Oh, well, right back at you, Theo.
Yeah, it's funny. Yeah, since that conference, you know, it's funny is I've been outside in the sun more, and I used to be so disciplined about my blue light discipline at night, you know, wearing the special glasses and all that, and then spending a lot of time outside, and I kind of drifted away from that, and I've gotten back into it. And you know what? It's taken a couple weeks, but I will say I have noticed a subtle change. I feel better getting more early sunlight right when I wake up and more sunlight throughout the day. It's like, and it's funny. It took me going to the conference, hanging out with people like you that are really into quantum health, quantum biology, for me to like get back into it. And it's such a basic thing, you know, and I'm kind of hoping on this podcast we can talk about basic things that your listeners can just take and use right away, you know, DIY stuff they can do at home that's helpful, you know?
Yeah, well, you are the master when it comes to that stuff. So yeah, we definitely want to dive into that. So I know you've shared your health journey on a lot of different podcasts. Can you give our listeners just a really short version of that, how you got into everything that you study?
Absolutely. And I know it's a risk when you interview somebody and you say, hey, tell me about yourself. And then 20 minutes go by and you're getting their whole life story. So yeah, I'll keep it short because I think it applies to, you know, most people in natural health. And at the bottom line with natural health, we're all into it to heal, right? Everyone has had some sort of health crisis, and if they didn't, people are just looking to optimize and feel better and be in a better mood. So, you know, mine is no different. I went through a pretty extreme health crisis in my 30s, kind of mid to late 30s. I used to co-own a commercial real estate company, and we did the brokerage part, the remodel part, and the property management part, and that's a lot of moving parts in any business. So for 15 years I worked every day, every early morning, before 7 a.m. I worked after 9 p.m. I worked every holiday, every weekend, because that's when people had more time off from their own jobs. And so they wanted to work on their real estate investments. And, commercial real estate, it's pretty intense. There's a lot of money involved. It's other people's money. So if they have anything pathological in their body, it's like an amplifier, and they dump everything on you because you're the person that's in front of them. And you know what? As a young man in my 20s and a good chunk of my 30s, I tolerated it. I could take it. My body could process the cortisol until it couldn't. And in a very short amount of time, I became severely chronically fatigued, and my cells, or more accurately, my mitochondria, were just dysfunctional, and they just could not produce the amount of energy they did before. And so I should have been in the prime of my life in my 30s, and I was exhausted. I looked terrible. I had kind of a gray skin tone. I was low mood, low energy, very negative. My brain was just kind of running on fumes, and I made it worse by, using too much caffeine and other stimulants that I get my hands on, like energy drinks, just terrible gas station energy drinks and stuff like that, just to keep limping along. And,
Yep.
I've always had a mistrust of the Western medical system. Their approach never made sense to me. They're just treating symptoms, they're not treating the cause. For fun, I did go to a Western medical doctor, and I said, here are my symptoms. Yeah, I literally just wanted to see what would happen, because I was already skeptical, but I'm like, let's just go in, let's just see what happens. So, you know what happened? They looked at me for less than 20 seconds and gave me a prescription for Ritalin, which is a methamphetamine. They said I had an attention disorder, which was crazy. I had a mitochondrial dysfunction, and if your cells aren't producing enough energy, then it's hard for you to pay attention, because you just don't have the energy to do it, right? And so instead, they just gave me a prescription. So I threw it away in the office, literally walked out, and I said, all right, I got to fix this on my own. So long story short, I got into biophysics. We're taught a biochemistry model, which can be really confusing for people getting into health, because we're told you got to do a keto diet, it's going to solve all your problems. You got to do carnivore, it's going to solve all your problems. You got to do vegan, it's going to solve all your problems. You've got to do a fasting mimicking diet or a macrobiotic diet. The diet people get so dogmatic, and that's just diets. And then a fitness person will say, you know what, everything is handled by just working out all the time. And then you'll talk to an acupuncture person, and they'll say, nope, all you need is acupuncture and Chinese herbs. You talk to an orthomolecular medicine guy, which is basically high doses of vitamins and minerals, and they'll say, all you need is this. It'll correct everything. And what frustrated me is I was like, hey, there's got to be a unifying theory that ties all of these various things together. And sure enough, there was. And that's biophysics, or more accurately, your body runs on tiny whispers of electrical current. And if you're in a state of low health or poor health, you're going to have low voltage. And if you're in a state of high health and good health, you're going to have higher voltage. And you can correct that by doing all the things that, increase electrical charge in your body. So getting sun, you get the photoelectric effect on your skin, and it stimulates the flow of electrons and kind of charges your cells back up. Let's talk about supplements. Vitamin C is a massive electron donor, so it donates negative electrical charge to your body. Trace minerals, they do the same thing. They donate electrical charge. Exercise, let's talk about that. Your fascia is piezoelectric. So when you mechanically depress and deform and stretch fascia in your body, it works like a quartz crystal. If you grab a quartz crystal and you squeeze it with a pair of pliers, it generates an electrical charge. Well, your fascia works the same way. So that's how exercise can actually make you feel invigorated and energized afterwards. Acupuncture needles, you put them in a conductive nerve bundle, and that long, thin needle acts like an antenna, and it concentrates static charge that's in the atmosphere, and it routes it into your body. So when I got into biophysics, I was like, oh my gosh, this is the one thing that ties it all together. Let's just focus on that. If I can heal one cell, I can heal them all. And I went for it. And then that led me down the detox pathway. Almost all of my products are based around detox because yes, you can get these inputs like, sunlight and, vitamin C to increase electrical charge in your body. But if your cells are clogged with toxins, they're just not going to run very well. Like a popular one to talk about right now is a mitochondrial toxin is deuterium. And deuterium is like throwing a wrench in rapidly spinning gears. It just clogs up the gears. They can't really spin.
Great way to explain it.
Yeah, so you have to get the deuterium out of the cells. You have to get the other crap out of the cells that harms them, and then the inputs just work a lot better, which is how I got into detox. And for people listening, what I'll leave you with, if you want to do a great dive into this topic that's accessible, and not theory, but it's like literally, hey, here's how this works. Here's some practical things you can do. A book that changed my life was by Dr. Jerry Tennant. It's called Healing is Voltage. It's a fantastic book. The title says it all. And he explains everything about basic biophysics and health. And there it is. Yeah. So that book,
Jerry on the back there.
I read that book 3 times in a row. I was
Me too.
I was electrified when I read it. I could not believe that this knowledge had been kept from me. Like, why aren't people talking about this? And I absolutely loved it.
This is synchronicity because I was the same. My doctor actually put me on. My environmental illness doctor suggested it, and I ended up building a workshop and teaching it because I just in doing that, it's how I was integrating the information. And I thought more people need to know this. They don't know anything about this electrical part. And then I got into phytoplankton. Did you go down that road too?
Oh yeah. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. So interesting.
Yeah, they're amazing. It's funny. Before the Flexner report, which was basically a hit job on natural forms of medicine and non-allopathic medicine, where you're actually trying to cure the root cause. That's
actually not been mentioned, I don't think, on our podcast. So,
oh really?
Yeah, it's worth you mentioning it.
Yeah. Why don't you share with people a little bit about that report?
The Flexner report.
Basically, I'm going to simplify this as much as possible because people overcomplicate it.
Yeah.
And I've written a lot on this topic, but in the 1890s through like say 1910-ish, they had figured out how to extract and refine oil. And oil is a hydrocarbon molecular structure. It's an organic molecule. And what's unique about it is that you can go in there and you can very easily modify the molecule to make all these different substances. And, we know oil is fuel for our cars and plastics and, stuff like that. But 86% of drugs to this day are made from a hydrocarbon molecule. And the Rockefellers, who owned Standard Oil, so they had a global monopoly on oil at the time, they already knew that drugs were being made from petrochemicals because they're easy organic molecules to modify and turn them into drugs. And they said, well, here's another amazing market for our oil. How do we corner this? And what they came up with was hiring a high school principal to travel around to all the different types of hospitals in the US and Canada. He went up to Canada. A lot of people don't know that. And discredit them. And so he did this very negative report on the different types of medical education in the US. And then Rockefeller took all their money and they lobbied Congress with the help of that report to centralize all the education under the state governments. So they had complete control of the medical education, and then they made the medical education the biochemistry drug-based allopathic model, and that's the way it's been taught ever since. Prior to the Flexner report, in the US and Canada, there were homeopathic only hospitals. You could go get a medical degree in homeopathy and practice it in a homeopathic hospital. There were also, and very few people know this, but you could also get a medical degree in electromedicine. So what Jerry Tennant's talking about with the different devices that he uses that put DC current back into the body, they were doing that over 120 years ago, and you could get a medical degree in it. And there were electromedicine hospitals that you could go to that just practiced that. There were other types of hospitals too, like chiropractics was pretty new back then, and they had their own approach. Osteopathy back then was much more kind of like chiropractics is today. Now they're basically just MDs that use a drug approach, but and that was all wiped out within 20 years. All of those alternative approaches were wiped out. Medical education was completely centralized under the drug and biochemistry model, under state and government control, and that's what they're educated in today.
Wow. I didn't know some of those pieces of history. You're so good at the history pieces.
I love it. It's my hobby. I love researching esoteric health stuff, because to know where you're going, you have to know your history, and the cream rises to the top, like the old folk medicine stuff that's just worked for centuries. I mean, it's you still hear about it because it works,
Yeah. Well, that's a perfect segue into health dowsing, which is what your talk was about at the Return to Nature retreat. And I've been really getting into this.
You've been loving it. Yeah.
Ever since I got a pendulum in my hand, I am dowsing everything. So can you talk about subtle energies and how that has to do with dowsing, and just what health dowsing is? Some people might be listening to this is like, what?
I know. I thought it was crazy when I first came across it. So let me set the stage, and I'll do it briefly and as simple as possible. So there's different layers to health, right? And the one that is really easy to focus on because it's in front of us all the time is the physical layer, the three-dimensional layer. If you're pounding in a nail and you hit your thumb gets red and swollen, it's very obvious, and you know what you need to do. But there's another layer to health, which is what I call the informational layer. So, we don't just have a physical body, we have energetic bodies as well. In the West, some people use a collective term called the aura. In Russia and Soviet Russia, they researched this for many decades, and they call it the bioplasmic body. So if you've ever heard that term, bioplasm, that's the Russian word for aura. And there are different energetic bodies that we have. Of course, there's the mental body, which is energetic. There's the emotional body, and there's the etheric body, which are kind of the three main ones. And the etheric body is the energetic body that is directly above your physical body, and it relates directly to your physical body. So think of it as, you could say it's like a onesie, right? So you got your physical body and you throw a onesie on. It's like that. It's like an energetic onesie, and all the energetic areas that you can see on the etheric body, it corresponds to an area in the physical body. So for instance, there's an energetic representation of your liver, and there's an energetic representation of your gut, of your brain, of your skin, of your big toe, your toenail, whatever. And what is super cool is that the Europeans figured out, actually right around World War I or before, that you could use a specific form of dowsing that they call radiesthesia to measure the etheric body and essentially do a scan or an assessment, see what's going on. And they even took it a level further, and they can apply healing to the etheric body or the energetic body, which has a downstream effect of healing the physical body. So think of it like this. We'll bring it back to the information part that I brought up. Essentially, you can get bad information in your energy body, and when you do an assessment and you heal it, you can provide good information to it. Like, think of it as providing like a very clean, perfect blueprint that your body looks at the blueprint and it references this and says, oh, okay, this is actually what I'm supposed to be doing right now. So it takes the information, puts it into the energy body, and then the physical body heals underneath that. And we can measure that with a pendulum.
You don't have a sleep problem, you have a lighting problem. Most modern LEDs flood your home with flickering blue-rich light that keeps your biology stuck in a daytime mode, delaying melatonin and spiking cortisol, and harming your sleep. It's time to get back in sync. Introducing the Better Sleep Bulb by In Rhythm. It's the only flicker-free, infrared enriched, triple mode, dirty electricity-free bulb designed to mimic the natural shift from sunlight to firelight. Toggle between 3 modes to effortlessly support your body's need for repair and deep restorative sleep. Stop fighting your biology and start supporting it. Use our code QuantumHealthy for a discount. Click the link in the show notes to transform your home and your sleep tonight.
Yes, you can.
Wow, I'm nodding my head, not shaking.
So just real quick for people listening, because you just say, okay, cool, but like, where did this come from? Let's jump into that. So this is still used in Europe today. It's used clinically. It's used alongside doctors in some countries, believe it or not. But it was started basically 1890s, kind of 1900-ish, by the Jesuits. And so Jesuit priests at the time were traveling worldwide for their ministry. And let's say they were in Africa. Well, they didn't know what plants were safe to eat. There was no internet back then. There were very few books written on edible plants in Zimbabwe, right? Mm-hmm. So they would pull out a pendulum and they would do what's just called spin testing. And they would hold the pendulum over the plant, and if it spun counterclockwise, it was not conducive to human health. And if it spun clockwise, it was. And so they knew what they could eat based on that. And they took that and they just developed it into a complete art. And so that's where you get into chart dowsing. So there's a chart for literally anything. You can do a chart for your gut, and it'll look like a big fan chart, and it'll have different things going on. Let's say it's a source of condition chart for your gut. So it'll have all these different conditions for your gut, and you put the pendulum over it, you ask a simple question, and then if you're resonant with that condition, let's say it's ulcerative colitis that's bothering you, it'll go to that. And now you know, okay, geez, I better give my gut some support specifically for ulcerative colitis. And that's kind of the whole deal. You can make it sound really complicated, or you can make it sound really simple, but basically your radiesthesia is about checking resonance with something. And you're finding out if you or somebody you're dowsing for is resonant with the question you're asking.
I feel like you're asking the quantum field, but
yeah,
is it partly that too? Like
absolutely. So it's the universal mind, right? So there's a field of consciousness. If you go back to the old books of Western mysticism, like the Kabbalion, they'll talk about the universal mind. The theosophists that were big in the mid 1800s, through, the 1930s were big on the concept of the universal mind. In quantum physics, we know that the consciousness of the observer will affect the outcome of an experiment. And kind of the most famous one is the wave particle duality conundrum, right? Where these things are in a standing wave until you observe them, and then all of a sudden it's a discrete particle. But that's based on the consciousness of the observer, and that's been known for 100 years. So the kind of overall explanation that I like about it is an easy way is just to say you're tapping into source, you're reading source. I like universal field of consciousness. There's the ancient Indians called it the Akashic record, which is a timeless record of everything that is, was, or will be. And so you're just tapping into that and you're reading it. In modern radionics, they call it intrinsic data fields, or IDF, and they're kind of trying to, modernize the term, but it's basically everything is information based, and it's in a field. That field at one time was called the ether, and we're just reading it.
Yes, because it can't be destroyed, right? Now,
Yes.
if you're going to give, I know you wanted to give the listeners things. So if
Yes.
because we're going to move on to a different topic. And if somebody wants to get into this,
Yes.
what's the easiest thing? Like, where would you send them?
Great question. So there's a few options. So it's really easy to get overwhelmed and overcomplicate things when you get into bioresonance testing, radiesthesia, or health dowsing. So the easiest way to do it is start with spin testing. And one of the best guides that I've seen to do that is if you go on a site called hollandfranklin.com. So it's Holland, the name, Franklin.com, all one word. She has a great website. She's actually taught me how to do this. She's been in the subtle energy and health dowsing world for over 50 years. And she has a guide on her site, like a little PDF, and it shows you how to do spin testing with a pendulum. And it's so cool because it just blows people's minds. But you can even do it on your own if you have a pendulum, or if you want to make one. Any weighted object at the end of a piece of string will work. And you can just get a normal sheet of white paper, and you can draw a plus sign and a minus sign on the paper. And if you want to learn how to dowse, you need to learn how to get out of your own way and not overpower it with your mind. We're working in the realm of intuition. So you can just suspend the pendulum over the plus sign and ask yourself the question, I wonder what's going to happen here. Kind of defocus your eyes. Don't, zone in and stare at it.
Mm-hmm.
And it should start going clockwise. And then you do the same thing. You put over the minus sign, and it should start going counterclockwise. And just practice that for 2 to 3 minutes a day for a week. And eventually you'll pick up the knack. You'll learn to relax. You'll learn to mentally let go and not consciously overpower it. And you'll allow your right brain to come forward, and you'll start to get more in touch with your intuition. And that is the basics of bioresonance testing. And if you want to do a deeper dive, you can go on Holland's site. And then what you can do for health is you can go around your own house and you can start spin testing areas. And the story I always tell about this with my mom is there is a couch that she would sit on. She'd always get so tired when she's on that couch. And my mom's been in the same house for 50 years or something, right? So, there's stuff in there, and things get lost. And I tested the exact area where she was sitting, and the pendulum would go counterclockwise. And counterclockwise means that it's spinning energy out. It's flinging energy away, right? And clockwise means it's spinning energy in, okay? And it's adding energy. So I was like, man, what is doing this? And she had this bookshelf that was like 360 degrees. It spins.
Oh.
And the pendulum kept getting stronger and stronger counterclockwise. And so I pulled the shelf out and I spun it, and there was an old cordless phone receiver there, which is called a deck phone.
Oh God, they're not good.
Yeah, those are like mini cell phone towers.
Yeah.
And so she was spending hours next to this mini cell phone tower, and it was harming her cells. And so, of course, I unplugged it, got rid of it, and then the spin went,
of course,
clockwise. Yeah.
Right.
So that's called spin testing, and that's a very easy thing you can do with anything. You can test food, you can test supplements, and there's down the road, once you kind of get a handle on that, you can get into personal wavelength. That's another thing, but there's a guide for that on Holland's website as well,
which you taught us in person.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we've been testing everything with our personal wavelength.
Personal wavelength is great. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah. It's been really instructive. I've been mostly just doing supplements. I know Andy, I think, has
Yeah.
gone into a whole bunch of other things, but it's amazing. Like, yeah, it's made me question a few things that I was taking, and then to see the ones where it's so strong, like,
Yes.
and consistently every day, and then one day it wasn't, and I thought, what the heck? You know what? I had the group of supplements in my other hand. I
Yeah.
think that absolutely, I was like, what? This has never happened. It's so strong, so strong. And
Yeah.
I realized I'm holding a whole group of things in my other hand. I think that was enough to undo it.
It can be.
Mix it
Yeah.
up. I don't know.
That's actually a really fast way to test supplements. Some people they'll put all their supplements in a bag or a basket and they'll hold it and they'll hold the pendulum in their other hand and it'll usually keep going counterclockwise until they keep taking supplements out and then it'll go clockwise and it's kind of a fast way to test. I still do them individually. I test supplements all the time because our biochemistry changes over time, or you're exposed to more stress. Stress causes vitamin and mineral washout. It burns them up faster. And so you might need more of one thing or less of another. And so it's something that I do pretty regularly.
This episode is sponsored by Viva Rays, the only eyewear company that truly understands your biology. Viva Rays are advanced blue light glasses designed with circadian biology in mind. Unlike typical blue blockers, they filter light in harmony with your body's natural rhythms, helping you sleep deeper, feel more energized, and protect your long-term health. We love companies that support biology-backed wellness, and Viva Rays is leading the way. Use code Quantum Healthy at vivarays.com to save 15% and support your sleep, focus, and natural energy the way nature intended. Enjoy this episode. Okay, I heard you talk about Shilajit on someone's
Yeah.
podcast, and I
Yeah.
have a little bottle from some company they sent
Yeah.
me, and after I got your stuff, I was like, I'm gonna test this to see, and it was actually it was a no.
It was
So
a no with the
yeah,
Shilajit.
yeah.
Yeah. You
Because
know,
you were talking about the purity of them, and then
yeah,
you were also talking about boron, and you taught us at the retreat that you can point to something on the computer before you order it.
right.
I got the biggest and fastest spin when I was pointing at if I needed boron or not. It was
Clockwise?
insane for clockwise. For
Okay,
like,
wow.
you
Yeah, so
better
you
get
really need it.
this. Like,
Yeah.
I really need it. So that I've been like anything that I've had to place an order, I've I've been doing that with.
It's
So
so good. Yeah, and
yeah.
that's kind of the quantum aspect of this, right? Because everything exists all at once outside of time and space, right?
Mhm.
That's the quantum field, that's the field of consciousness, it's the Akashic record, whatever you want to call it. But what makes it so practical and useful is that you can literally just take a pencil or a pen, point at your computer screen, hold the pendulum here, and if it goes counterclockwise, it's not for you. This is obviously with personal wavelength once you learn to set your own personal wavelength, which is custom to you for
Mhm.
people listening. But it's a very easy technique to learn. You can learn it for free and you can just go and do it. And you can even test company logos if you want to do a basic spin test, not necessarily personal resonance, but if you're like, hey, I wonder if I should buy something from this company, or you kind of it might feel a little weird. You can point at the logo and hold it, and if it's owned by a not so great person, it'll go counterclockwise.
Interesting.
I have to go back quickly, just the physicist in me,
Yeah,
back to the consciousness of the observer,
yeah,
in the famous double slit experiment.
yes,
How can we, because let's say Andia thought that she wanted that, that boron might be good for her. How much
yep.
does her belief influence, or is that the training that you, over time, where you get yourself neutral?
That's the hard part. So it's when you're dowsing for yourself, you really have to learn to get out of your own way. And I would say this is going to sound like a strange example, but it's one that's very relatable to me. So I had a partial scholarship in university for a sport, and the sport happened to be Olympic style Taekwondo, which means you're fighting somebody. And so until you learn how to relax in the middle of a fight, you cannot compete very well. If you're tense and not relaxed, you're slow and you run out of energy very quickly. And so my coaches used to just hammer on me to relax, relax, relax. And eventually I got it. And so I'd be completely relaxed in the middle of a fight, which allowed me to get out of my own way and react faster and do pretty well. So dowsing it's about relaxing the conscious mind and not allowing it to influence your results, not by pushing back, not by fighting, but just complete surrender. And that's why I always suggest to people ask that question, which I learned from Holland Franklin. I wonder what's going to happen here.
Yeah.
And so you kind of have this playful curiosity that you want to have, and it helps to defocus your eyes, not look at the pendulum directly, but kind of out of the corner of your eye and just kind of drift off mentally, for a few seconds, and then it'll usually pick it up. And it's also known that typically dowsing for yourself is the hardest. Dowsing for your own relationship is very difficult because there's so much tied up in that, so much invested in it. Dowsing for other people is super easy. Dowsing for, spin testing, like you're looking for a hidden cordless phone, super easy. Stuff like that. So,
yeah. Okay, good to know.
But yeah, you definitely can affect the results, and you can affect it pretty easily. So that's kind of the art. Over time, you relax into it, you become more confident, and you just get it. You're just off and running.
Holland Franklin, you mentioned at the retreat something
Yeah.
that she uniquely taught you about subtle energy. Do you remember? Is that coming to mind, or I
I
should ask you?
remember. I want you to repeat that too.
It was
It's
such a
about
gem.
it's
Yeah.
about you can block the non-native EMFs as
Yeah.
much as you
Oh
want.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Well, it's kind of a cool story for people listening too, because it took me a while to get out of the physical paradigm of EMF. And so, we are physical beings and we're also energetic beings. And I see people in both camps. There's people that are squarely physical. They won't look at anything energetic. It's all BS and they only do physical things. And I've also seen in the energy camp people that are like, I'm only energy, I'm only information, nothing physical matters. I don't take any supplements, I don't work out, I don't do anything because it doesn't matter. We're all just energy. And both approaches are wrong. We straddle both worlds, so you need to support both worlds. And what she said is, when I interviewed her for a summit, I think it was the Underground Health Summit that I did, she was the EMF expert. She's well known in EMF mitigation in Southern California. And she, in her own house, has all the physical EMF mitigation stuff that you would have, like shielded wiring and the special paints that block EMF and the special window films that block EMF, all of that stuff. And we were talking about all that. And during the interview, she said, Theo, she said, you can block all the EMF you want, but unless you harmonize the EMF that is being produced, even if you block it, it's still going to be harmful. And it just dumbfounded me. I said, well, what do you mean? And she said, look, even if you lived in a lead box or a Faraday cage 24/7,
Wow.
the bad information from the EMF is still going to go right through those barriers, and your cells, your DNA is going to respond to the harmful information. And that's where she started talking about scalar waves. And scalar waves, for a lot of people, are explained as informational waves, or some people call them longitudinal waves. So, the classic diagram of an EMF wave, let's see if I can do it on the camera. It looks like this. And so the vertical part is the electricity, and this part that goes off at a right angle is the magnetism. And so the scalar wave comes right at you. It's longitudinal, and it's outside time and space, and it's widely considered the informational part of an electromagnetic wave. And all EMF waves produce scalar waves, and the scalar waves, like we talked about earlier, can provide harmful information to your body that your body then takes in and reacts to. And our jobs are to provide beneficial, pristine blueprints to the body so it can respond to those. And so that's where she got me into EMF harmonization. And there's so many different ways to do that. Obviously, the answer always is start in the physical, mitigate that as much as possible. But, everybody's house should have some sort of harmonization in there for EMF, whatever you decide to do. Thankfully, in this day and age, there's so many different approaches out there, and they all work to some degree, and some better than others, but there's many EMF harmonization technologies out there.
And we've had Nico on the podcast who
Cosmic Tower.
Cosmic Tower.
That's what the Cosmic Tower does.
Yeah, and that's actually how I originally knew who you were prior to meeting you, or getting to meet you in person. At the Return to Nature retreat. So
that makes sense. So I used to check people's vitality of their houses before and after a Cosmic Tower was installed.
Really?
Yeah, so I used the Bovis scale for that, which for people listening, the Bovis scale, it's like 120 years old. It was used in France to measure the vitality of food that was being fed to chronically ill patients, because obviously you want to feed them food with high vitality, not, terrible, devitalized food, which they had 120 years ago. I mean, processed food was around by then. And so you can use a Bovis scale on a house, right? So pre-Cosmic Tower, the houses were always average, they were fine. Every once in a while I'd see one that was below average, and there was usually something egregious going on there, like Wi-Fi routers that were on 24/7 with repeaters throughout the whole house, stuff like that. Or the house could be over a black stream. That was, I saw one of those. But yeah, you throw a Cosmic Tower in, which is kind of like a portable earth energy power spot, and it would just harmonize all of that, and then it would just go right up the scale, sometimes off the scale.
Really?
That's amazing.
Oh, so interesting. I have an egg, Peter Webb's egg. It's radionics. I don't know if you've heard of Peter Webb. He's up here in Ottawa, actually.
Is that the glass thing?
Yes.
Okay.
It's the glass.
Yes. I've handled a couple of those. They're really cool.
Okay. Well, I don't have I think, Andia, you have a Cosmic Tower, right?
Yeah, I have a 75. Yep.
Yeah, I have one of the exact one. Yep.
Her name is Ula.
Oh, you named it. Yeah. I have three of them.
Oh, that's awesome.
And actually, you should talk to Holland, because there's a very easy modification she's doing that makes them even better.
Oh, yes, I would want to know about that.
And I just did it on mine last night, and it is better.
Oh, okay.
And it's in the realm of sacred geometry. So basically, there's a whole art in subtle energy that uses 2-dimensional or 3-dimensional geometric shapes to affect subtle energy. Biogeometry is a very good example of that, and this is a technique that uses 2-dimensional geometry to basically smooth out the energy even more.
Oh, awesome. Okay. All right. Well, I don't want to run out of time before we get to talk about what you have created. Some amazing supplements. In fact, so I have to admit, Theo, I'm drinking my first one today.
Okay.
And that's because I was saving it because I was going to be doing a dry fast, but I'm going to be waiting on that for a little bit. Anyway, I saw you were sold out of it.
Yes.
So one thing I want to mention to people, when's it coming back? And I want you to talk about the packaging of this amazing, very special product.
Yeah, we could definitely talk about the packaging. So we'll start there, and then we'll talk about availability.
So what's it called? Because people not on YouTube will not be able to see it.
It's called BioRecharge Pure Humic. And so what it is humic and fulvic trace minerals. And humic and fulvic trace minerals add negative electrical charge to your cells, and more importantly, to your mitochondria. They also increase zeta potential in your blood, So for the biophysics nerds out there, zeta potential is whether your red blood cells clump together
Mhm.
or hold on, my phone's ringing. Can you guys hear that?
No.
Okay,
No.
good. I'm just going to keep talking. So in your bloodstream, there's this effect called the rouleau effect or coining. And your red blood cells, if they lack the appropriate electrical charge, they stick together like this and they clump. and,
They almost like they
and
stack
they,
like
yeah,
coins, right? Yeah.
yeah. And they can't get through your capillaries because for one blood cell to get through a capillary, it has to fold in half. And so your circulation goes down. Excuse me. Your circulation goes down, and then the oxygen delivered to your organs and tissues goes down because the blood can't get to it. So zeta potential, you always want to increase it, and increased zeta potential basically means there's more electrical charge in your blood, and then the red blood cells come apart, and then they flow more freely, and then they deliver more oxygen to all over your body. And so it increases zeta potential for your blood. It increases the amount of electrons that are provided to your mitochondria, and it's also a very potent detox agent. So humic and fulvic will grab mold. It's very good at grabbing mold out of the body, mold spores. It grabs glyphosate. It's amazing for grabbing glyphosate. So that's Roundup. It's a very common herbicide that unfortunately is used throughout North America. It's contaminated most of our food supply.
Which de
Um,
which also declines your copper status and
yes,
your
and
melanin level too.
glutathione too.
Glutathione too,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's horrible. And it also grabs lead, mercury, cadmium, and arsenic, those heavy metals. And finally, it's really good for the gut. So a lot of people have leaky gut where they're tight junctions. Again, to use, I'm just keep doing this. Your tight junctions in your gut should look like this, and instead, in most people, they're pulled apart because of the gut inflammation. And so when you take this, it seals your tight junctions right up, and then your gut starts absorbing food and nutrients better. So it's kind of like the Swiss Army knife of biophysics for health because it works at such a tiny level down to the mitochondrial level on up to the grabbing toxin level. And my inspiration for making BioRecharge was actually healing his voltage because he talks
Okay.
about it in the book. And I wanted the cleanest stuff that I could find, and I wanted the most potent stuff I could find. So you'll notice that that is not sold in a water form. The water ones are great for a lot of people, but they're pretty highly diluted. This is super concentrated, and that's why I do it in powder, and you can add it to your own water. And this is the only one that I know of in the world, and certainly the only one in North America that is mined in the Rocky Mountains in Idaho from underneath the sandstone cap. And the reason that that matters is because the open pit mines in New Mexico and whatnot, they're exposed to atmospheric contaminants. So as I look here, there are, geoengineering clouds above me, which are full of barium, strontium, and aluminum that rains down. And so that goes into the humic and fulvic that is sourced from these open pit mines. Underneath the sandstone cap in underground mine, all the groundwater is filtered, so there's no contaminants carried in by groundwater like herbicides, pesticides, and none of the atmospheric pollution gets in there. And this, my provider, does not use acid. So most places use industrial acid to refine and purify the humic and fulvic, and this guy uses water, and it's a really long process. It takes weeks, but they basically let it settle out in a big tank, and it takes weeks versus hours. And so it's a very expensive product to make, and it's only made in very small batches, which is why it is not available as I'm speaking right now. But I have another batch being made as we speak, because I also do not use any preservatives. I do not use any fillers. I do not use any machine lubricants. So if you buy supplements, you'll often see magnesium stearate or
Yeah.
titanium dioxide in a supplement. You say, well, why is that there? They have no biological function. They're machine lubricants. So they're a powder that's slippery that they mix in with other ingredients to make it slide down a chute in the machine faster.
I
And
never knew that about
yeah,
magnesium stearate. I knew it wasn't good, but I didn't know.
that's why it's in there. So it's a machine
Thank
lubricant.
you.
And so this stuff is hard to make. That's why it costs what it costs. And that's why sometimes I'll sell out, and then it'll take a while to make a new batch because it's kind of finicky, but it's worth it. And, when I make a supplement, my own mom is on my mailing list. Her friends are on the mailing list. They're in their 80s. Like, I want to help people. You have somebody who's got 80 years of toxins in their body. You can't be using magnesium stearate and titanium dioxide.
Yeah.
You got to give them the cleanest thing possible to help them. And that's kind of the backstory and why I make it. Sorry, I kept talking on a tangent there.
No, and then you do something extra special with your packaging.
The packaging, that's right.
Yeah. Can you talk about that really quick?
Yes. So oftentimes you'll get a supplement like BioRecharge that is advertised as completely pure and natural and amazing and this and that. And you look at the ingredients and sure enough, it's single ingredient. And it is clean, and then you take it, and it doesn't feel as good in your body as it should, and you never know why. Well, the reason why is because how it's stored, how it's handled, and how it's transported. So when supplements are shipped to you, they could have been stored in a warehouse that is next to a Wi-Fi router or bad electrical wiring in the wall behind where it's stored, and it's constantly in this EMF field, and it'll pick that subtle energy influence up, that bad information, and incorporate it into its crystalline structure, and then you're receiving some of that when you take the supplement. If you ship it,
And not even even if it was in a Faraday bag, still.
well, yeah,
It
it'll
still
still
wouldn't do
get
it, right?
it'll
Still
still get the
wouldn't affect it.
information. Yeah.
Yeah.
And a lot, not all shipments, but many shipments go through a gamma X-ray machine. So you've got ionizing radiation that is getting blasted with because they're searching for stuff, right? That shouldn't be shipped. And so a lot of stuff does go through an X-ray. So there's harmful influences. And when you're dealing with microcrystalline, very fine material like humic and fulvic powder, it does pick up other stuff. So that packaging I designed so it has subtle energy protective devices on it that harmonize and protect the contents from bad influences. And so when you look at the geometry of it, it has a border around it, and it focuses the energy towards the center, and then the centerpiece radiates a good energy out, which that's the subtle energy of geometry is what I'm using on there. And as far as I know, there's only one other person that's doing that, at least in North America. And I also have a pure fulvic product, which is in a dropper bottle, and that bottle has a similar design on it that is basically radiating harmful, harmonizing energy, which I know if you're listening to this, it might sound crazy. It might sound too woo-woo. I get it. But I'll tell you what, when I learned this and I started experiencing it and I started being able to feel it in my body, I was like, wow, there really is something to this. And it's not just me doing this. If you find sometimes like a very, very high quality supplement will come in a special type of glass called Myron glass. Have you guys ever heard of that?
I
have a lot of
worked
it.
Yeah, I worked with activation products. We're hoping to get Ian Clark on. He uses
activation. Yeah. So the phytoplankton is a great
Yep.
product. Yeah. So Myron glass, it's not just the light. So in their advertising, they'll say, oh, it's just from the light. It's a special type of infrared. It preserves the contents, but it's also from the minerals in the glass that they use to make it that color. They radiate a harmonizing, beneficial, subtle energy quality. And my next product that I'm making is a homeopathic, and it's going to come in Myron glass because you can have, in fact, I've experienced this. I've received homeopathics that came in a Myron glass bottle, and I stored them next to magnets because I'm really into magnetic therapy, and I totally forgot that magnets will wipe out a homeopathic. It's like
Yeah,
it's like erasing a
that's
pencil.
right.
And I totally forgot. So I actually called the manufacturer. He's a friend of mine. I said, Michael, what do I do here? And he said, they're Myron glass, put them out in the sun for a day. And so I measured on a potency scale of 1 to 100. I measured their potency. And when I started, they were at 30% potency. And by the end of the day, they're at 100. That was 3 months ago. I measured them again when I got back from traveling, and they're still at about like 97% potency.
Nice.
So that
And
is the concept of packaging your products in something that harmonizes the energy and is beneficial to the subtle energy quality of what is contained in the packaging. And nobody does this. And something for people to consider, and this is a take it and use it thing you can do at home, is barcodes emit a quality of subtle energy that is harmful. It's called vertical negative green. And vertical negative green
no.
is from the French radiesthesia tradition. And it's not a good energy. It's a harmful energy. It's not good. Vertical negative green is what is emitted by EMF. It's what is emitted by dirty electricity. And you can literally fix this by taking anything that has a barcode on it, grabbing a Sharpie, and you draw an infinity sign. So if you look at my finger, you start in the center and you draw it clockwise. You go up like this, and you go down and you draw it clockwise, and you meet back in the middle, and that completely negates the non-beneficial energy. And if you look at the barcode on the bottom of that package you have there with the BioRecharge, you see it has an infinity sign on it.
Yeah.
And I had to fight the co-packer on that because they did not want to do that. And they were whining and complaining, and I said, no, the infinity sign's going on there. Your barcode reader will still pick it up. It's fine.
Yeah. And there's one on here, everyone.
Yeah,
I am
that little
holding
tiny
these
one.
things up. If you're watching
Yeah,
on YouTube, you can see what I've been holding up. But
yeah.
yeah.
Can you draw that again one more time? Because
So
I missed
start in the,
how you started it.
yep. So start in the center,
In the center. Okay,
and
in the
then you go
center.
clockwise, and then you go back again, and you just draw a
Oh,
little infinity sign.
that was easy. Yeah. I just did it
Yeah.
with
Okay.
my pen.
Yeah, it's super easy, and it doesn't have to look that neat. What you do need to do is close it. So you have to meet back in the middle. If you don't close it, then the energy's left open. And you know what? I know this sounds crazy, but it works. Like some supplements you can measure and they'll be counterclockwise, and then you do the infinity sign and it goes clockwise. It's the weirdest thing. But foods, especially liquids I put into my body, I always draw the infinity sign on them first before I use them.
Oh,
Oh,
interesting.
you just draw it.
You just draw it.
Just
Yeah,
draw
yeah.
it.
You just get it home from the health food store or the when you open the box with the shipment, and I grab a little Sharpie and I just draw it on there. It takes no time at
Some
all.
boxes have you these symbols on them. Like when you get a shipment, it's on the
Yeah.
cardboard box.
Yes. Yeah. You
Yeah.
could do it on the box too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's so fascinating. It's such an interesting world, and the risk is that you get lost in the entertainment of it all and talking about it and how cool it is. And that's why I always try to ground it in practical reality, which I think we've covered a lot of, like that UPC code thing. That's anybody can just go and do that for free right now, and it'll immediately improve your informational environment that you're surrounded in. I mean, think of your supplement cabinet and how many bottles are there, and they all have barcodes.
Yeah. That is a really simple takeaway that people can do for sure.
Yeah.
Not to mention everything else that we've talked about. Well, we're definitely going to have you back for dry
Oh, we need a
fasting.
a
Yeah.
part 2, 3.
Yeah, we can definitely do that. I love talking to
Oh,
you guys
yeah.
because you understand biophysics
Mhm.
and the whole quantum thing, and that's the root of all health, whether we're talking about information or getting sunlight or clearing negative emotions out of your body, which I love talking about, because I up until my early 40s, I didn't even understand that the body keeps the score, as they say.
Mhm.
Your fascia can store charge from emotions, past trauma that doesn't serve you. So how do we move that out of the body? How do we harmonize it
Yeah. Well,
I gotta
Fascinating.
ask,
oh, go
just
ahead.
ask you quickly, have you heard of Access Consciousness bars? Because it was big in California and maybe
What was
even
it?
in,
What's the name again?
it's called Access Consciousness bars.
No,
You heard of
that's
that
new.
modality? Oh, okay, because I do it actually, and
Yeah.
anyway, and you touch points on the head, and it's all about removing the negative
You know
thoughts, or
what?
like the negative energies.
Holland actually introduced me to a therapy that sounds suspiciously similar to that. I wonder if it changed names over the decades because it was exactly what you're talking about.
It might be, and it's got all
Yeah.
these X tools. Anyway, I don't want to. I just was curious. Is that something that you do? Because it's exactly. And when you said the body keeps the score, I'm like, oh, you're motivating me to do it more.
Oh,
Because it does help that.
it's unlimited what you can do when you
Mhm.
unify this whole quantum model of health. It's so amazing. Like there's a type of healing that you can do that goes into your prenatal environment, and you actually can make a connection with yourself in your prenatal environment and essentially send a message to yourself back in time, and you can feel yourself heal in the present time. It's
That's
it's
amazing.
it's really
I've heard this.
crazy. And then
Yeah.
there's a version of that, and this blew my mind. But there's a version of that where if you look at the bottom of your foot, the big toe is like conception, and then it works down the foot, across the arch down to the heel through birth, and you can press on those points, and there's a map of your prenatal environment, and you can press on those points and do certain things to harmonize your prenatal environment as an adult, and then you heal in real time as an adult.
Wow.
It's so
It's like
Oh my
crazy.
gosh.
it's
Yeah,
like
That
I
it's
is
wonder
a
if it's a
awesome.
form of reflexology,
It's
but
you
it's
know
not
what? I'm gonna give you the
standard.
name right now, because I have it on my phone.
Oh, so you
It's
can look it
known by
up.
a couple names, but yeah, I have it saved in my notes because I did it, um, and I could literally feel myself change in real time, and I'm like, okay, I guess this quantum healing stuff is legit, you know. It is called. I just got the note here. Let's see. Okay, it's a technique called metamorphosis, the work of a chiropractor named Robert St. John. And
Okay.
so the metamorphosis technique was also later modified by someone named Gaston St. Pierre. So, but it's called the metamorphosis technique, Robert St. John and Gaston St. Pierre. And that is. And then some people take it a step further and they just connect energetically with
Okay.
themselves. They don't even do
Mhm.
the physical part.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, quantum healing, crazy, quantum healthy. Let's go.
Let's go.
Let's do it all. Biofit.
You
Yeah,
have definitely put a whole nother. So in the quantum space, there's a saying that people say, and it's redox before you detox. But
yeah,
I think that we really dove into that today,
yeah,
because you are actually concentrated on the detox part, but you flip that on its head a little bit. And I like that because we can get really like focused in. Like I
yeah,
was really focused in on like redox for the last couple years,
yeah,
and until just met you not a couple weeks ago, I'm like,
yeah.
I'm ready for the detox, and I've been not going there.
Can you give me the explain like I'm five version of what the quantum health community's version of redox is?
Yeah, so yeah, it's basically collecting electrons from the environment, but you tied that in with detox.
Okay.
Like it's
Would be negative
collecting as
charge.
much voltage as you can, but
Okay. I'll do you one better. You guys are gonna love this.
okay.
Okay.
So I agree, and nearly universally, all toxins, whether they're heavy metals, pesticides, herbicides, volatile organic chemicals, preservatives, all of that crap has a positive electrical charge. Okay.
Right.
And so you can keep adding all the negative electrical charge, the redox, reduction and oxidation.
Yep.
You can add all of that to your body you want, but if you're fat, your bones your cell membranes, the cells themselves are storing these positively charged toxins, it's just going to steal all the negative electrons you're getting. It's just going to take them. So I like to use a credit card analogy with toxins and electrical charge. Let's say that you're in debt and you're like, oh gosh, I want to get out of debt. Okay, well, what's the first thing you do? You stop spending money, right? But then the second thing is you got to go reduce your debt. You got to go start paying off the credit cards. So, when you're filled with toxins, they're going to rob, let's say essentially they have like the high interest, right? They're going to rob all the redox you're getting. They're going to take it. They're just going to eat it. Or you do both at the same time. You like do your heavy metals detox, get rid of all these toxins, fix your gut and get all that stuff out of your body. And then when you're getting sunlight, you're getting negative charge from vitamin C, your body can actually take it and use it and to heal some more longer term chronic issues.
Okay.
And I do take, there's a guy in the space of quantum health. We all know who he is, loves his academic credentials, but I saw him give advice sometime in a public comment, and somebody said, I have heavy metals poisoning. What do I need to do? And he said, just go in the sun all day. And that is the worst advice for heavy metals poisoning that I've ever heard in my life. Heavy metals do not come out easily. They start in your bloodstream, they get shunted to your fat because they're so dangerous, and so your body tries to seal them off, and they go into your fat, and you have to chelate them out of your fat, and if they've been in your fat for a few months, they go to your bones, and that's their kind of final resting place is your bones. And these so-called diseases of aging, particularly in women, as they age, their bones thin, and then it releases all the metals. And so that's like the thinning skin because it damages the collagen and losing hair and cataracts. These are all caused by heavy metal release as the bones thin. And so, telling somebody all they need to do is go in the sun, because I had heavy metals poisoning, and I researched and worked at it for years on myself. And I can tell you it's not easy to get out, and it takes a long time, and you have to use chelating agents. So, we have people for Dry Fast with Friends that want to do the dry fast that we do twice a year, one in June, one in January. And, they'll come to us and they'll say, hey, I've got all these heavy metals. And we'll say, no, you got to do this protocol for a year and then come back and you can do a dry fast, because a dry fast dumps a lot of toxins all at once.
Right. Yeah. Wow. Okay. So we always ask a signature question.
Yeah.
Which you actually pretty much just answered it with that truth bomb. But I always ask, what does quantum healthy mean to you? And I want to ask you that anyway, just in case anything else comes to your mind.
Man, that's such a great question. And I love the name of your guys' podcast. I remember saying that when I asked you what your podcast was. I'm like, that's such a friendly, good name that also tells you exactly what it's all about.
Thank you.
Quantum.
It was divinely inspired.
Was it? Is this a direct download?
It was all Laura. She came up with the name.
I like that. Yeah.
It didn't work until I found Andia.
That's always the best way to get good information. It's just a direct download. I love that. What does quantum healthy mean to me? You know what it means? It's, we covered it, but it's biophysics. It's and I want to simplify it down from that. It's, it's Dr. Jerry Tennant said, if you can fix one cell, you can fix them all. And so it's, for me, that's kind of what it's about. And what we talked about is helping and supporting the cell physically today, but we also talked about supporting the cell informationally. And so that might be taking a homeopathic, because a homeopathic provides a beautiful blueprint for your body to respond to. just like hitting a tuning fork next to another tuning fork, it'll start to vibrate. So I think it's supporting the cell, supporting your DNA, and just giving it the right inputs.
That's awesome.
That's
Thank you so
awesome.
much.
Yeah,
This
great
has been wonderful.
conversation with you guys. I really appreciate it.
How do people find you, Theo?
Okay, so it's gonna look like the early 2000s era of websites. I know I'm working on it. I've got a guy building a new site right now. But if you go to forgottenhealth.com, you'll see all my links because I have multiple different sites. But you see links for the various products, the detox products like the liver cleanse. You'll see the dry fast stuff if that's something people want to get into, and it's all there. Yes, it looks like 2004, but we're working on it.
That's okay.
It's very easy to navigate. I did not have problem finding anything I needed, so I like the simplicity.
Yeah, it's funny, in the age of AI, everybody's, oh, just use AI to make a site. And I'm like, man, every time I've used AI to try to do something like that, it hallucinates and says something crazy. So no, I'm paying somebody to do this.
And are
Totally
you
money well spent with the human, I think.
Yeah,
on any socials that people should know about?
I am. So, you know, I avoided social media for a really long time, and I finally came around. So the one I'm most active on is YouTube. So there's a Forgotten Health YouTube channel that you can go to. And there's a link for that on the Forgotten Health site. And I just started my Instagram at the insistence of Oksana. So that one's brand new, but I'll be building it out quite a bit more, and I'm active on it. I respond to people in DMs and stuff, and that's the Forgotten Health Instagram. And so those are the two that I'm on right now. I have not braved TikTok yet. I don't even know if I can go there. Maybe you guys can tell me, but that's where I'm at for now.
Well, that's wonderful. I'll make sure all those three things are linked for everyone. I will also link the Holland Franklin website that you were talking about as well.
You know what? We got to take care of our mentors, and Holland, 50 years active in the subtle energy community in LA, and she's one of the greats, and I like to give credit where credit is due. And I would love it if people would check out her site.
Oh, we'd love her to have her on the podcast.
You should. Yeah, she is amazing and so helpful and so kind. And she's not dogmatic to any one approach. She just uses what works. And that's what I like about her. And that's where I got my approach to subtle energy from.
Amazing.
Done. Yeah, done.
So,
Okay.
Laura always does a thank you.
Yes.
I want to quick tell you thank you because you have helped me so much in just the last couple of weeks, and I cannot thank you enough. And I really appreciate all of it's obviously a passion, but history was the class I hated most in school.
Oh, yeah.
And as I age,
Yep.
I am really getting into history, not so much
Yeah.
the history I was being taught in school, but
Right.
just the history of things. And I just have a completely different appreciation for it now that I'm older. And you are just a prime example of the things that I like to know the history on. And you've done the work and you've done the research, and I cannot thank you enough for literally, I mean, your name of your brand says it all. It is the Forgotten Health,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Thank you so much. That's so nice to hear those kind words. And yeah, I love researching the old forgotten health stuff, like, hey, what worked in the past and who's still doing it, and it cream rises to the top, right? And so the stuff that's worked forever, it's around, and it doesn't have to be expensive. I think, true health, you have to be able to implement it over a long period of time. And so it has to be easy, DIY, and not necessarily expensive.
Yes.
So you can do it, and then you'll get these great health results that compound over time, because health is truly wealth. And in my opinion, as somebody that had severe chronic fatigue for a really long time, energy is the currency of life.
Thank you. I was
That's
waiting for you to say that.
It is. Energy is the
It
currency
is.
of life, and you need cellular energy, and that's what it comes down to for me is that.
Awesome.
Thank you. Uh, I think that India, you said so much. You covered a few things I was going to say. Thank you. But thank you for your what you called at the retreat your spectacular burnout. I thought I
Yeah,
marked at how bad was it? It
it
was
was bad.
spectacular.
Yeah,
But yeah, sorry for you to have to go through that. But on the good side,
that's why I'm
you've
here.
that's why you're here,
Yeah,
and so many things today. This energy body education is going to open people's minds. And I loved your description of scalar waves. That's gonna
yes,
like it's a term that people run from. 'Cause, like, I don't know what a scalar wave is.
I
Well,
know.
but now I know it's this.
Yeah, it's the information. So all you
It's
need to remember
information.
is it's the informational
It's the
component
information.
of
Yeah.
electromagnetic wave, and so there are beneficial electromagnetic waves like the Earth's Schumann resonance, and that has a beneficial informational part to it. But, having your cell phone on, I heard kids are storing cell phones under their pillow with them on. They sleep like that. I didn't know that was a thing. I just found that out recently. I mean, can you imagine? But imagine the bad information from that all night.
Oh, yeah. In addition to the physical, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah, the all the different fields, right? Especially the RF. Oh my gosh.
yeah.
Today you've given us so many tips, insights, truth bombs, and as India said, the historical relevancy, of a lot of the things that you do today. Um, Thank you for making this. I think you're pioneering this idea of the packaging on supplements. So yeah, huge shout out to that idea, and then
Thank you.
following through and doing it. A little tie-in, India, when we decided to do the Quantum Healthy podcast, the one thing that she said absolutely had to be involved is a little bit of sacred geometry. And so
Yes.
I don't know if people know that about our logo, but there is a triangle, India, right?
Yeah, well, and the triangle is also a symbol of recovery, and I'm an addiction counselor, so yeah, it has a lot of meanings.
Oh,
Oh,
yeah.
I wondered why the coins that I see sometimes have a triangle on them. Okay, I didn't know that was a symbol of recovery. Okay.
Yeah, and like in AA, so Alcoholics Anonymous,
Yeah.
the symbol is a circle and there's a triangle. So if you are, that's like I see that on car, I see
I've
that
seen that.
everywhere.
Yeah, there's
Yeah.
a building that I drive by all the time that
Oh,
has that on the
it's a
front over the door.
that's probably because it's
Okay.
an Alano club. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Mm.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
the real quick, the other symbol that people will see out in the wild sometimes is a circumpunct, where it's a circle with a dot in the middle.
Yes.
And that's symbolic of the centering, organizing principle of the universe. Uh,
And I believe that's what's on the front cover of Rick Rubin's book, right?
I
I
think it is, yeah,
think it
because it's
is.
alchemically it's a symbol of the sun, but it's much more ancient than that. But it's the in biogeometry, they say it's this symbol of the centering, harmonizing, organizing aspect of the universe. So it's like in biology, there's a question they've never answered, which is, for newts or even our own fingertip, if you cut off the fingertip and you don't stitch it, it grows back completely perfectly. Well, how did it know not to grow back as a tooth or like an eyeball or,
Right.
like what's the field that's telling that how to grow back that way? Or in a newt, if you cut off its arm, another arm grows back, like what the heck? So there's some organizing field of consciousness, quantum consciousness that does that. And supposedly that symbol is symbolic of that. It's a beautiful symbol. It's supposed to put out its own harmonizing energy.
Oh,
Well, if
know
we
that.
change
Thank
our,
you.
our logo, we're gonna have that one. Oh
All
gosh,
right,
Theo,
Diana. Well, we will let you
yes.
get back to it and just thank you so much. And thank you for everybody listening. You made it to the end of the episode, and we'll see you next time.
Appreciate it.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you so much for listening to the Quantum Healthy podcast. We hope you found some value in this information. And if you feel inspired, please share it and leave us a 5-star review. This will help us reach so many more people. If you want to connect with Laura, you can find her at laurakistmanwellness.com and Endia@endiaray.com. Links are below in the show notes. Now, go find some sunlight and embrace your own quantum healthy.